My name is Denton, and if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Now, you might be asking, Denton, what are you doing sitting at a table with a box in front of you? Don't worry, it has nothing in it. What we're going to do today is review and compare different types of 3D printed knives to a real one. I made these quite some time ago. We have a plethora of different knives that I will go through and introduce as we go through the different stages. We will be comparing how well they cut tape, how well they can cut cardboard, and how well they can just cut through paper. Now, if 3D printing knives and models and props is something that you would be interested in watching, and if you find yourself coming back to my channel anyways, I figure why not subscribe? It would mean a lot to me and it would really help out in the goal I'm trying to reach by the end of this month. With that being said, on to the video. The first test is the cut test. How well it can cut through tape. Now this is just blue painter's tape. It's nothing fancy, but I feel like if a knife cannot cut through this, it's not really a knife, okay? So let's start with my, however old this, I have no idea how old this knife is. I don't know if YouTube is gonna really like this video, but hey, who cares, right? So we're just gonna do the simple 3-cut, bam, 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 and then compare them, okay? So this is an orange Ace knife. I have not sharpened it once since I bought it, and we'll just see how it works. So about as well as you would expect. It's a knife. It's an actual metal edge, and it actually does a pretty good job at cutting. Not much better than a normal pocket knife would. It's nothing special. It's a knife, right? But that is our baseline. In terms of cutting, I would rank probably right about a 6. We'll call it a 5 because it's the baseline. It works. It does what it needs to. On to the next one. Okay, this is the same box, same scenario, but we're going to be doing it with this tiny little folding pocket knife that I printed. I'm not really expecting this thing to do too great. If you want a closer look at it, here it is. It's nothing special at all. I'm doing this one next because I'm expecting this one to do the worst out of the bunch. So I guess we'll just see how well it works. So surprisingly, it didn't do too terrible. Before I cut with it, I was going to put it at like a 2, just because I didn't expect it to be doing anything. But this 3D printer that this was printed on print this edge very fine, so cut surprisingly well. So I'd give it a probably right about 4.5, 5 out of 10. It was on par, maybe just a little worse than the original knife. Next one we're doing is the Shad. It's like a little throwing knife. Here's the close-up of it, if that's what you guys want. As you can see, it's not a really great edge, but that's what we're working with. So we'll do the cut with this one. As expected, a little bit worse than this one. I'd rank this one probably about a 3 in terms of cutting, which honestly, I was kind of expecting it. I was kind of expecting this to be the second worst of the bunch. I was expecting this to be the worst of the bunch, but this one did surprisingly well. But this one, I expected it to do bad, and it met expectations. Alrighty. On to the next one. Here's the up close of this knife. Now this knife, I mean, it's a pretty cool looking knife. I like it, and its edge is probably one of the sharpest out of all the knives so far, except the real knife. I like the design of this knife. It's got a good handle on it. Obvious where the edge is. Whereas this one was just double-edged. So if you put any pressure behind it or something, you hurt yourself. But I'm pretty sure this kind of knife is like illegal in California or something. But thankfully, I don't live in California, so I'm able to 3D print this. That was surprising. I thought this thing was going to be all for show, and it did surprisingly better than I thought it would. I know it may not come across on the actual video, like how much resistance I'm having to pull these with, and it may just look like they're the same, but this thing, it may have outperformed the baseline somehow and surprisingly. I like this. This is a cool knife. I like it. So for this test, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. This is the next knife. Now, Denton, that's a rectangle. You're right. However, it's a knife. What the outer casing looks like. You open it up. It's a pretty good knife. Now, this one disappointed me a little bit. At least in the cutting aspect. We haven't done the stabbing yet. So, this one would probably be ranked at a 5, or maybe even a 4 out of 10, on par with this one. Now that we're done with cutting, we're done with the tape. We're moving on to the stabbing part, the fun part. This is the part where I may get flagged for this. This is a disclaimer. I'm a trained professional. Do not stab boxes with knives. If they do and do not have stuff in them, this is a controlled environment with proper ventilation, good air circulation going throughout. I have medics on standby, aka my mom, who's a physical therapist. And just don't do this. Don't try this. This is the first one. It's a knife. It's gonna stab. And it stabs fairly well. Nothing too special. It's stabbed. It can stab and it can cut through this, which is a benefit that I don't think any one of these plastic knives are gonna have, because they're plastic knives, right? But this, again, it's the baseline, so we'll put it at 5. We're not ranking this one, we're ranking these other 4. We're ranking how well 3D printed knives will work. We're back at it again with the midget. That might be insensitive. As you can see, these were the 2 holes made by this one. So this is gonna get stabbed right on the other side. Kind of as expected. It didn't go all the way through. It hit it and then the box collapsed. So we'll try it again. It did go all the way through, but barely. It took a lot more force than it should have. So now we're gonna try the pull and cut. We have news. It did cut it. As you can see, this is probably a better demonstration. That was the original one. And that was the one that just got cut. This one is a little more rough. However, knives don't bend like that. The knife did break a little. I mean, you could probably fix it by just... Yeah, fixed. But now it's able to do that. So we have damage on this knife already. Plus, I think the tip might have broken off. Yeesh. That's minus 10 HP for this knife. Because of that, I can't rank it any higher than this knife. I wasn't going to, because it cut worse. But this one, I'm going to rank it at a 2 for how well it cut. It was not fun to cut with. And I don't know if I should throw this at it, because it's a throwing knife, or if I should cut it. We'll try both. This has a slightly sharper point, hope that it does a little bit better than this other one, and it is one full rigid piece. So I'm hoping that it won't break. A break on this will be catastrophic for it. That will knock it out of this ranking entirely. So we're gonna do the stab first. It stabs. She stabs. And then we're gonna cut it. That was a lot harder. And it was a lot more messy of a cut than even the one that broke. The midget is what we'll call it. I don't care if it's insensitive. It did hold up, however. So I do have to give it a little bit more credit than this one. So I'm going to probably give it right about a 3 out of 5. Do a 3.4. No, 3.5 out of 5. 3.5 out of 10. On to the next one. Whatever this is called. The fun spinning one. This Hush Puppy. I don't know how I'm going to go about this. I'm thinking I'll go with just a normal grab, stab, and rip. But we're not sure yet. I'm not really expecting this one to do too horrible. Probably a little bit better than the last two. So this knife is cool. Just broke its tip. Can you believe that? I mean, it's still kind of sharp because it's broken plastic now. However, that definitely loses its point. So we'll see how well this thing rips. It ripped surprisingly easy. The only reason it's a much thicker cut is because it gets so much thicker at the back than the real knife did. But that tip broke. The tip of this blade broke. So I can't give it anything more than a 5. And honestly, I'm not very happy with it right now. On to the next one. Beilasson butterfly knife. First try, baby. This, I have hopes for this. This is a sharp end. I think I made one of these for my sister a while ago. I think that she may have accidentally stabbed me one time, and it did hurt. Not a lot, not hard, but it still hurt. So I have faith in this blade. I don't want to say that to a full extent. I have faith in the tip that it's going to poke through, and then faith that it will hold up whenever I'm cutting. Let's say that. I'm going to be doing it right here. Hey, that works well. Went in like a charm. Let's see how she slices. But it doesn't slice well, and that does not make me happy. I had high hopes for this knife, and now I barely rank it a 6. None of these knives have gotten anything higher than that this entire time. I don't know. Maybe one of them did. I don't remember. So you may be wondering, what is the third and final test for these knives? Will I try and cut paper with them where I know only one of them really stands a chance at passing this test, and I don't even know if it will? Will I slash them and stab them into some chainmail that I also 3D printed? Videos up on my channel if you want to go see that. No, none of those. Knives need to be strong. If you don't have a good back on your knife, or a good spine, or a good whatever, your knife will break. And if it's a knife like this and it breaks, that's not good. We'll start with this one, because this one already broke on the second test. So just as I thought, broke right off. That's not a knife. Go to the next one. This one is a fair bit stronger. Never mind. It broke at the handle. Technically not the blade, but you know, still part of the knife. You're not going to grab it by just the blade and start stabbing people, because then you will cut your own hand. Both of those automatic fails. Butterfly knife. A fair bit stronger than I would have thunk. I mean, obviously, it's not going to close now. You could probably still get away with something with that. That passes. This was printed with like 90% infill. So this thing's pretty sturdy. I mean, obviously, except for that tip that broke off earlier. This thing is pretty sturdy. Let's try the handle. The knife did not break. Now time for the metal one. That's flexing a lot more than I would like it to. But it does not break. It passes the test, and it is now... Obviously, this one was going to perform better than any one of these knives. Better than this one, better than the butterfly knife, better than this dinky little fold-out knife, and this throwing knife. Obviously, this one was going to perform better. I just wanted to know how much better a real knife is compared to one of these knives. This knife, I think, was $40, maybe. It wasn't a lot. In terms of knives, that's not a lot for a knife. It cost me less than 20 cents to make this knife. And it performed as one of the best knives out of any of these. And that brings us to the end of the video. So if you did like this video, please consider liking it or leaving a comment, or even if you liked it enough, maybe even subscribe. It would mean the world to me right now, because I'm really working on trying to grow this channel, and any support at all would be very appreciated. That really means a lot, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.